And quite frankly, we live in a world today that is filled with people who are claiming all kinds of authority. And they're persuasive, they're articulate, they are rich, they're smart in their techniques and in what they're doing. And yet, when we listen to God's prophets, seers, and revelators, and his appointed leaders of the different organizations, it's beautiful to see how powerfully the gospel is taught by them. Because if you peel back all the layers, they're not preaching these things for them to get gain. They're preaching these things as a sacrifice. They're giving their time and their whole life to help us. This is a Christ-like connection to the great exchange. They're being Christ-like in that they're giving us of their life. Whereas the people that Paul's referring to here, they clearly have an agenda. There's something that they're wanting to get from these people in Corinth, rather than what Paul's doing, which is trying to give something to these people in Corinth. So it's a good reminder for us living in this digital age where there's never been a generation before of different people living on the earth who have many in their pocket the window to the world of information, past and present, like we have today, which means there are an awful lot of voices clamoring for our time and our attention. They're selling a lot of things. The question is are we buying? Versus what the prophets are saying, are we listening?
He goes on in verse 13 and 14, a bit more clearly calling out these false teachers who are misleading people. For such are false apostles, deceitful workers, transforming themselves into the apostles of Christ. And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. Therefore, it is no great thing if his ministers also be transformed as the ministers of righteousness, whose end shall be according to their works. So it's a little bit complex in some cases what he's saying, but fundamentally he's teaching us we need to be aligned with true teachers sent from God, not simply those who claim on their own authority to be so. Now, the world is full of leaders. There's a great leadership writer and speaker, a man named John C. Maxwell. And his definition of leadership is influence, a very simple but powerful definition. So if you go create influence in anybody's life, positive or negative, you are exerting leadership. And so these so-called super apostles were exerting negative leadership. They were trying to attract people to themselves for their own personal gain. True leadership, Christ-like leadership, does the opposite. It, instead of exalting itself, abases itself in order that other people might have that experience. And I actually saw this very powerfully just a few days ago with somebody I admire greatly and a friend. One of the classes that I teach at the university, I every week need to bring in a different speaker to encourage and inspire the students. And these are speakers who often have very busy lives. They're very successful in doing a lot of things, but they take their time to come visit. And I happen to invite two different people with the same name. And I wasn't totally paying attention. 2 minutes before the class starts, the first man who was there ready to go, he had flown in. Actually, there had been 3 canceled flights. He ended up driving to a different airport and booking a different flight to get to the university to be with the students. 2 minutes before class starts, he and I and my teaching assistants realized there was actually another man that he also knew with the same name who was actually also assigned. So it was very interesting. This man, this brother, said, "It's okay. Let's let the other person speak, and I will just go into the audience and be a student." And it was so impressive to me. Now, the class that I teach is a class on leadership and innovation. I later wrote to this friend and said, in all the years I've been involved in this class, your gracious act of humility taught me more about leadership than the totality of all these lectures I've been participating in for years, which all have been incredible. And by the way, the speaker that day was incredible. And I saw my other friend, who was also supposed to be speaking, sitting down, taking notes. And to even add to this, it turns out that my friend happens to be the boss of the other person who was speaking. That's how bad I messed things up. So it was a very powerful lesson that we all have daily choices to say, will I puff myself up in order to put other people down? Or am I willing to uplift other people and in the same time also be uplifted? I'm actually pretty confident if we talk to my friend, he'd say, my other friend gave such a great talk and I learned so many important things. I took all these notes. And that, again, is the essence of real leadership. I wonder if these so-called super apostles had learned from actually these two friends. Maybe these super apostles also would have taken turns teaching, listening to one another, maybe sitting down and taking notes instead of saying, hey, don't listen to Paul, that guy's a loser. And so again, in our own lives, let's listen to the real leader, it's Jesus Christ and his chosen servants.